Hey Cozie Homies! Welcome back to the Zone! So today, it is my absolute honor to invite my friend Zhen Kang on the channel.
Hi!
So actually both of us, we are PPE students in NUS. So we kind of like study together like quite often, like for the whole 2 years. So for today's video, we'll kind of mostly share about our experience studying PPE, which is Philosophy, Politics and Economics in NUS. Our experience, maybe some tips and advice for any juniors who are interested to take this program, and also just like a module review of the modules we've taken in our second year of study. Okay. Yeah, so, okay, experience. Maybe you anything you want to share?
Okay, I think PPE so far has been a bit, I think for lack of a better word, a bit weird.
Oh, okay.
You have to take, mods in philo, ball science, econs, but what makes it a unique major of its own, a unique degree program, right, would be that there are these unique PPE mods where you're trying to synthesize what you've learned in the three respective fields. Yeah. The problem is that most of these mods only come in at the 4K level, so the earliest you can take them is year 3, year 4. So for the past 2 years, it was about trying to fulfill those prerequisites to get to those PPE mods. Yeah. So the experience has been a bit weird because I feel like I'm doing every other major except PPE, except synthesis. So I think it's been a bit weird, a bit fragmented. Yeah. But overall, it's still a very fun experience. You're always on your toes. There's always something new to learn.
Okay, that's good. So I think I can share a little bit more about how exactly is the curriculum plan, right, of PPE. So what we do is that we take like 6 modules for philosophy, 6 modules from political science, and 6 modules from economics. And I believe we have like up to 7 modules, right? 28 credits worth of the sort of the interdisciplinary PPE modules. And we have also like 5 mods you can take for as unrestricted electives. Right. Yeah. So fun fact, so I'm an art history minor and you're
lit minor, literature minor, right? Yeah.
And I think it's quite common that our other PP friends, they also take on like second majors and other things. Yeah. Everyone here is like always, studying, working hard. Yeah. So I think for me, I personally also agree with how you feel. So for the past 2 years, we really have been clearing a lot of not just like prerequisites to study the interdisciplinary modules, but also some sort of modules that we have to clear regardless per pillar. So like philosophy, we have to take like the introductory modules, we have to take logic, right? These are some of the modules we have to take. Political science, something about Singapore politics also that we have to take. Yeah, we will talk more about that later. Economics, we have like math, right?
Environmental economics, we had microeconomics, which is we'll get to it, but it's a lot of math.
Lots of math. And yeah, so I would say like, I always talk about this, but I feel like studying PPE is really like academic whiplash. Like one moment we can do like very difficult math, like calculus and stuff. And this moment you're thinking about, how would Socrates interpret, this philosophical question? So in a sense, you really keep you on your toes all the time. You will always be excited, you will always have to find something exciting to learn about. And maybe we can talk a little bit more about how do you personally like navigate and approach the modules that you choose, your own personal study path.
Alright, okay. Sure. For me, the kind of like academic experience that I wanted, at least going into NUS, was something that could align with my interest in like international relations, political science, but I didn't want to just be a political science major, right? I wanted to understand how these concepts can be applied in the real world, or how they're interpreted by people throughout the world. So that's why the philosophy and the economic side came in. So yeah, that's how I usually plot it out. And I take mods in regions in the world that I'm interested in, or specific areas of study that I want to explore. So yeah, very clear on what I want. With my academic plan.
I see. And I think we also kind of discussed about it because like how PPE in a sense is also quite broad because it's like kind of like 3 disciplines in one, right? So actually, I would say not a single PPE student is the same. Like everyone comes in with a slightly different area of interest. So I think for myself, I kind of don't really know what I wanted actually. When I first entered PPE, I was like, let me just study and see what's up. So eventually, I feel like that's where I really discovered my interest in art history. And I realized how like art history is really a very good way to understand the intersection of like P, P and E, right? So I think like art, it really is a sort of, it crystallizes, right, human thought and everything throughout history. So that's how I personally view art history from the perspective of a PP student. And I think for you, because you're interested in international relations, so I think you also took some modules on perhaps like from Middle East, right?
Yeah,
so,
Middle East, right.
Yeah. So I think these are really helpful also if you're really interested in studying about the politics of different regions in the world. So yeah, actually, I feel like different people have really different interests. I think, I don't know any other notable PP people that takes very...
I think we have... He's taking he's doing a minor, or is it a second degree in translation?
I think a minor.
A minor in translation, yeah. But he's recently declared a second degree in theatre studies.
Oh,
yeah.
You know what?
This is a So you've got people like who doing theatre studies, translation, and then PPE. Spoil market but I think we have others. I think quite notable.
Oh, I think I know one who is also taking a second major in computer science.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really like wow.
Yeah. We had what was it? One of our seniors. Right. Yeah, he was a math major / PP. Yeah, he had two different. Yeah, there are a lot of different, I would say, characters in the PP community. Everyone has their own thing to do. Yeah. No one's really the same, I would say.
Yeah. So not to worry if you still don't know like what you want to do in PP, because I feel like eventually you will find something you'll be interested in. Yeah. And yeah, so maybe you can talk a little bit more about what are some sort of tips and advice you would give to anyone interested.
Okay. I think this doesn't just apply to PPE, but it applies to any uni student really, and that is to come with a plan, but be flexible. Okay.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. So it's really interesting. So when you come to school, you need to know what do you want to get out of these 4 years, because you need to be very clear. You need to know what you're going to commit yourself to. Are you going to do more CCAs, or are you going to be more of an academics guy? And then what kind of classes do you want to take? Because you want to graduate feeling fulfilled, you better do it for you. Don't take what other people are saying to do or what seems like the best choice. The more career-oriented guys who want to, pad their LinkedIn, make their resume look better, they will take certain classes that will teach them skills, at least on paper, say they have these skills for the internship that they want, and that works too. If you want to go into policy analysis, you better take some.
Yes, for sure.
So better take some policy classes. But then I feel right that like Zheng Hong, you need to explore. It's okay to not know what you want, because school is going, especially PPE, they're gonna give you so many different kinds of experiences just as a taster. So you want to know what you want, but at the same time be open to exploring new opportunities. Be very clear of what kind of experience you want and just go and start.
Yeah, it's actually like your idea of like how have a rough plan, but don't stick with it, but don't really also stick with it.
Be flexible, right.
Yeah, and I think also because how like PP gives a lot of flexibility of what you want to choose also. I think a lot of the modules that I end up taking are not even modules that I even imagine myself to take. Like for example, environmental economics, for example, it's not something that I've imagine myself taking. And so that's some really good advice. And I think the sort of, if you're more like career oriented, I'm pretty sure a lot of our PP fellows are like interning right now. Internships work, like I personally for myself, I do more volunteering work. I do some sort of part time also. And also exchange, right? I was going to exchange. I'm going to summer school literally like 2 days later. So I think every PP is always up to something. So that's, I guess, the culture here also. Everyone is always engaged with something that they're doing.
I think don't feel pressured if you're not up to something, because everyone has a different bandwidth, different boundaries, different energy level. Don't feel pressured to take on more than you can handle, because if you think it's embarrassing to not be up to something, it will be more embarrassing if you burn out, and you don't want to hurt yourself. So even though everyone is like crazy and doing something amazing, right? They're doing it for themselves. So just do it for you. If you want to chill, then you can chill also.
I mean, personally, I've known people in PP also who really face burnout, and like it's quite painful to see, honestly. In fact, a lot of people in university, in NUS especially, like
burnout is a problem here, yeah.
It's quite a big problem. Even for myself, I would say, I also get burnout quite.
I feel unfortunately, I also experienced my own like burnout as well. I think it's very common, not just in PPE students, but uni students as a whole, especially Singapore uni students. The academic rigor is really there. It's not which is why it's so important to do what you want and to have a plan. Don't take on too much things, but take some stuff for you to enjoy. Like there are fun mods to take in school that maybe don't add to your academic experience, but it's something that you're interested in. And if it helps your mental health, then it'll translate into better grades for your other mods. So I think that's why do what you want.
That's really very insightful. Okay. So that's about it. Our broad overall experiences with PPE. So I think now we can dive into kind of like more like what exactly do we even learn in PPE. So we're going to share a bit more about our modules I've taken in year 2. So my video on the modules I've taken in year 1 is linked somewhere here. So you can watch it. We'll share more about what we studied for this year. Okay, you can really start with our first semester. You can talk about the philosophy module that we have taken.
Oh, okay. So, will you be putting the module code or?
Okay, maybe we can say the module code. PH2222.
The module codes sound probably very foreign when you don't have the context, but sure. PH2222 was
titled Greek philosophy, Socrates and Plato.
Socrates and Plato. You're correct. So the mod, right, was as it says, it's Greek philo. We'll be focusing on 2 key philosophers, Socrates and Plato. But honestly, it felt more of like Plato mod. I feel. Right.
But it makes sense also, right? Because technically Socrates didn't really write.
He didn't write his own work. Plato transcribed it, added his own views, or presented it to reflect his own philosophy. So you can't study one without the other. So Socrates, Plato, that was an interesting one.
I think it's also quite. I would say personally, I would recommend anybody interested in philosophy take this, because I feel like Greek philosophy, like especially like Socrates and Plato's views, they really shape a lot of like the fundamentals of how philosophy as a subject, as a discipline even came about. Like it's really the foundations of a lot of it. Right? I mean, it might be very Eurocentric, whatever, but and it's nonetheless very important.
The Socratic method of questioning, right, is something so basic, so fundamental, intuitive, but it's amazing, right? It's something that Socrates came up with it so long ago and then made it into, I don't want to say an art form because I feel philosophy follows a logical process, but I think an art form is a nice way to put it.
And it's something that we also taken for granted, right? The Socratic method is really ingrained in a lot of the ways that lessons are conducted, education has been.
Should we give him context of what the Socratic method
is?
Socratic method is really the art of questioning, the art of finding logical fallacies, basically gaps in your argument to constantly poke and to identify flaws. We say in a very academic, or at least a very reserved way, but let's be real, Socrates was very mean. He enjoyed tormenting others, but that was because he lived in a time where everybody could come out and be a philosopher and an academic. You need someone in the other corner to constantly critique and to stress test your philosophy. So even though he wasn't a very well-liked figure in Athens at the time, he was necessary to your evolution. But basically the Socratic method is just to,
probe you to think.
Probably a deep thinker. Try to find ways that their argument does not hold. The primary goal is not to improve the argument, but to critique it, to identify where it's wrong. That's
something that Socrates kind of like insists is that he always insists that he's not a teacher, like he doesn't really teach or educate you, but in a sense he's just trying to guide you to think for yourself and whether or not you can come to terms with your own arguments, right? I think that's mainly what he does as his contribution to philosophy, at least.
You would give a premise, you would give a stance, and he would say no.
No to everything.
He would say no to everything, but that's really important. He wasn't just a an automatic naysayer. You need to learn how to defend your argument against attack, and only after repetitive, repeated defense, right, do you just have to let your philosophy, your stance take form. So yeah, the Socratic method is very important. Also rudimentary.
Yeah, I think you can roughly share like what we the main topics that we talk about.
Quite.
Yeah, I think we focus a lot about like moral values, right? That's I think with the main chunk of it. We focus a lot about like how do we define courage, what is good, right? Like is good what God commands, whether or not virtue can be taught. I think that's also something we spend quite a lot of time talking about.
In case you're worried about the mod, right? This concept sounds floaty, don't worry. The syllabus is structured in a way, right? It takes you almost in a chronological order of Socrates' life story as told by Plato. Plato was Socrates, the big time #1 fan student. But yeah, so the syllabus covers the life of Socrates in relation to Plato, and then the life of Plato and how he carried over Socrates' philosophy. So that's what the mod is really about. To look at their life story, but to also identify the key stances, the premises that they took, the key philosophies that they defended, and then you apply the Socratic method to it. Very interesting practice that I enjoyed throughout the mod was that you will use the Socratic method of saying no and questioning against Socrates' own philosophies.
Oh yes,
a
lot.
That's fun.
So I think for the structure of this module, I really like how we kind of started off the module by talking about the end of Socrates' life, right? We read the Apology. And I think that's kind of really sets the foundation of like what Socrates really is like. What are some of his main motivations, his main approaches to doing philosophy. And I think one thing about this module, which personally I feel like I would enjoy more if this is done right, is that I think it is very focused on like the moral philosophy side of things. For me, I'm very interested in like the theory of forms. Really more in the would they call it meta ethics? I don't want to call it like that. Meta I don't want to call it like that side of below.
The side of philosophy,
but because I feel like that is the theory of forms, the idea of like what else was it? Yeah. The whole theory was very jam-packed in like the last 2 weeks of the curriculum.
The problem with any I think every class suffers from this is that how are you going to condense something, right, that as a concept that we've been studying for hundreds of years, right, into 2 weeks? How are you going to condense and jam pack that and then communicate it to a student who just got out of bed in the morning and just showed up to class and really all tired and everything? It's a task. It's a difficult task to have.
And the fact that we have to digest these theories and write something about it, oh my goodness. I don't know how we survived it, but here we are.
I feel that that the assessments though were there to help you internalize and to translate your thoughts, put it out onto paper, so that to build you up to the final assessment. Final assessment was what? There was an exam and then there was an essay, right?
Oh yeah, but if you come up with your own original dialogue,
right?
Because Socrates and Plato, like the way that their works are being presented is in a dialogue, right? Just the format.
Think of like a chat room, Socrates will say something, and then the interlocutor or whoever he's talking to will say something, and then they go line by line by line. It reads like a movie script sometimes. Very interesting way that Plato presented it to be in a dialogue. So that's the interesting thing. The final assessment was to come up with your very own dialogue between Socrates and somebody else, or between two characters that you choose. They were testing you to see whether how much you understood how their works are presented and how the Socratic method works, because the Socratic method is applied in a conversation. It's a back and forth of no, explain why, then the guy will explain, then you prompt further and further until you finally reach the end conclusion. So that was interesting.
I think for the grading for the dialogue also, it was not really graded on how well do you know a specific concept, but it's more about how well do you defend your own arguments.
Which is exactly. The whole point was to teach you the Socratic method.
So maybe we can share a bit more about the breakdown.
Sure.
So based on what I've written down. Okay, so like what was this? Oh, dialogue critic. Okay, so the first big assessment was like we have to write a critique of like a dialogue. Was it? I can't remember exactly.
So what you had to do was you were given this package of like different dialogues, right? Not just Socratic, Plato dialogues. Like there are dialogues all across philosophy as well.
Yeah.
And then you will
add on a few lines.
Yeah, you have to add on a few lines. Basically, they were just telling you to extend the argument as naturally as you think it would fit, or try to defend a certain stance you want. Prof. Abelard, right? Prof. Abelard, he was a big Socrates, head of the fan club and everything. So he's always imagining what it would have been like if Socrates dealt with certain like debates differently. Yeah. So you can see that being reflected in the dialogue critique. I think if you want to put it very crudely, right, you're writing your own fan fiction.
Oh right.
But writing your own fan fiction, imagining how the debate could have gone, constantly rethinking, is precisely what the mod wants you to do. To always test your theory.
Yeah. So that was the first major assessment that we had. So that was worth 20%. Then the one we talked about, like right before this, our own original dialogue, right? That was all the way to the end of the semester, 25%. Then there was the final test. The test was like quite. Just asking you like, how was Socrates like respond to something?
It was a written exam. You had to sit down in a room with everybody, and then you will just be given typical lecture questions like how will Socrates respond, or what is this concept asking for. It's really for you to just get marks. It's really kind of great. Don't worry too much about the text.
As long as you pay attention, it should be fine. Then there's also weekly quizzes. They were quite chill. I feel like the weekly quizzes were good. Like it's just you do the reading and then you just kind of answer like a few MCQ questions to familiarize yourself with the concept.
It wasn't hard. You can get through it without reading the source. Control F and find something. But I really appreciated the weekly quizzes because it prompts you to really not just scan through the reading, but to try and understand what it's saying and to pick out a key point. So the quiz, quizzes you on the key points, and it gives you a hint what the future assessments are interested in. So take it seriously, and it's really quite low commitment also. It's a small quiz MCQ.
The quizzes are fine. The quizzes are 15%, and then there's class participation for 20%, and you can do forum posts. Right.
I felt that was the most difficult thing. People who take philo mods are serious about philo. Very very serious.
Very passionate also.
we won't throw shade on the other, but you need to be prepared to defend your argument. So what we had it was that we had to do these polls. Like we had to post we had to create our own. What we had to do was to create our own forum posts on Canvas, right? Where you had to come up with your own philosophical arguments, or at least talk about some topic, right? You get to choose a topic.
What topic you want to talk about,
But basically every week has a certain topic, and then your forum posts have to be linked to the topic itself. And you would essentially be asking questions, or you would be trying to respond to other people's posts. Responding to other people's posts was fun. You can poke at them and here's where you're wrong. But then you put up your own post and people will come at you to critique you. Wow, man. I stressed about that, man. I planned it out, I wrote it out. I even went to consult other people to ask them about what my forum post sounds stupid or not. Because I didn't want to look stupid in front of the people community. But everyone was just like, just chill, just post and don't take it personally, don't take it seriously. But the participation forced me to study this mod way more seriously.
And I remember I remember at some periods of time, right? I remember after lecture we were talk about how we want to write our forum posts. I remember we had that conversation before.
Many times, trying to, because you can't just write something onto the forum for fun and then call it a day. The quality of your post is it is subject to reading.
And I remember for me, one of the, I would say the most controversial posts I written was about, I started along the lines of Socrates' take on perhaps the social contract theory. There was something along those lines. I can't remember exactly what I wrote. And I remember so many people really those that attacked me, academically challenged me, right? To dig deeper. So a lot of comments for that one post I've written. But it's a fun experience to really hear how people dissect your own arguments?
I don't think I wrote I wrote something a bit more tongue-in-cheek, more fun, but like with the theme in mind. I believe it was on vegetarianism or something about eating meat.
Oh, okay.
A bit long ago already.
Yeah.
But trying to argue that we are morally obliged to switch to a vegetarian diet for the cow. Something like that. Yeah, I wanted to enter in with some very nonsense theme so that I could find some joy in this very soul-crushing work. Yeah. But then seriously link it to the topics covered in class. I enjoyed myself. Yeah, that was good. That was fun. Yeah.
That's nice. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's really it for our experience in this module.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah. Okay. The next module we can talk about is also another module we've taken together. One of the political science modules, coded PS2237, Introduction to International Relations.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
This is a tough mod to talk about because there is some controversy behind it. I think we need to preface this. At a certain point of the year, the political science department lost quite a few of its educators, a lot of its teachers, a lot of its professors. Yeah. For reasons that I'm sure you'll find it elsewhere.
Yeah,
you'll find it elsewhere. But the main deal is that the professors specializing in international relations left NUS.
Oh yeah.
So this mod, the assessment, the content was scrambled together very hastily by whatever remaining political science professors remained, who didn't specialize in international relations. I feel that this mod was a bit challenging for us, but also challenging for the school to come up. So take what we say with a pinch of salt.
Yeah. I think content-wise, based on what I remember, is that this module really focuses a lot on the theory. Like I think the first half of this module really focused a lot about like the major schools of thought in international relations. And I think the so-called application part of this module, where we apply these theories into real-life international relations issues, right? They are only like the last 3 or 4 weeks in the module. It was not much. It mostly very heavily on theory.
Trying to tell you that what notable political scientists would think about international relations, whether they would be more hawkish and aggressive, or believing in multilateral cooperation, or there's many different kinds of theories out there. And I think it helped me appreciate international relations a lot more. I came into NUS thinking I want to take this module under a very specific professor. But then when he left, I was like, okay, I'm still gonna take it because I want to know the content. And the content didn't disappoint.
Yeah, and I think studying this module really shaped my perspective in understanding political issues as a whole, because there's multiple ways to view it, and it's the world isn't always I don't know, Hobbesian world versus whether or not the world is all evil or is it all nice, everyone's all next to each other. So I feel like having the sort of different arguments that we are exposed to really shape my understanding a lot also. Yeah, about this.
It's interesting because PS2237 international relations went in this manner. Notable political scientists or notable philosopher. What theory did they propose? And then when you take philosophy mods or other political science mods, you're gonna see the same name and the same theory pop up. So it was quite interesting to see this intersectionality. It's quite fun.
And it's something that perhaps PP students really can get to experience. Rather than just a pure philo or pure political science major.
The assessment was 15% on class participation. So class participation wasn't a forum post, it was about
physical, raise your hand and speak up in class kind of.
Oh man, that was difficult.
That was tough. I remember I only spoke up once because most of the time I really do not understand what's going on.
Pol science majors are difficult to compete with class participation. They are very outspoken and knowledgeable.
Very knowledgeable.
Be prepared to go up against somebody who knows more than you and knows it. You need to maintain your confidence, not to scare anybody, but if you want the grade, you better speak up in class. But make sure you have done your homework so that you can defend it without looking stupid. It's your due diligence. I ended up meeting the people that I argued with for class part. in other classes and then my internship also. Then we were just like, we were just talking very awkwardly. They were like, I was like very awkward. I was like, I'm so sorry for being so mean in tutorials, or sometimes being so dumb. Like, you know how it is. Then everyone at NUS understands the struggle. Like, we need to fight for class participation. So, what to do?
But I would say, right, like in terms of class participation, I think both of us have very different personalities. Like, he's the one that's like, will go out there and talk. For me, it's like I like to like sit back and listen first. And if I see anything that I want to add, I will add. But usually I have nothing to add because everyone already.
both approaches have their own advantages, but it's really about your comfort level. Don't come to class and tear your hair for a very arbitrary class part grade lah.
Very arbitrary.
Very arbitrary.
Then we have 2 essays. Midterms. I forgot your midterms.
The midterm? Oh, okay.
So, midterms. Midterms. Was it the same format?
It's the same. Okay, it's not normal for an arts class or pol science class at all to have a written exam with like short answer questions and MCQ. That is not normal. That was the biggest gripe I had with this module because the prof, she was had to come up with the assessment on the like with very little time to prepare. So she was like, okay, a written exam, right, although imperfect, is the best way to ensure some average grade. So that the deviation of the grades, right, wasn't so huge. Because in an essay, right, you are pretty much left on your own. With the exam, it's harder to write out point and to fail. I think that's what she was worried about. She was trying to protect the bottom line, but yeah, sure, bottom line protected, but it became difficult for people to excel and to get an A.
Yes.
Right.
And I think there were some students who actually approached the prof and asked the professor like, oh, why is it that we need to have a written exam? I think because she said how like the module was first structured as a examinable like module, so there's nothing she can do about it. It's just like that hurts like.
This is not a normal form of assessment. Most pol science classes tell you to do an essay or two, and then you carry on. But yeah, I found it quite difficult to approach the exams. I'm sure that the mod has changed.
Probably. I'm not too sure about that also.
It should have changed by now, at least. Or at least, the prof would have found her legs.
But I believe based on my memory, right, I think the final exam was still okay. Because I remember the essay question that was asked in exam was very broad. So like I remember I could talk about literally anything. It was about, I can't remember what was it, but it was basically questioning the international aspect of international relations. I think that's the main idea.
That's right. The midterm was very specific. They're testing you, what is intersectionality, or who said this, and then you'll be like, oh, this is just, scribe work. But the final was testing how you could link the concepts to real world problems, how you're going to approach it, or the different ways to approach it. And that's what gave us more breathing room. I think it's good that the final, right, was a heavier percentage.
But I feel like overall I really gained a lot from this module actually. I feel I learned a lot.
Very interesting, right? Even though it says Introduction to International Relations, it's considered an intro mod, right? These concepts are repeated everywhere.
Actually.
Even at my intern, right? Like the very first day, right? Boss man came down to give a presentation on what international relations is. Same concepts.
Oh my god.
He was talking about like anarchy in the international order and word for word quoting this stuff. And I was like, thank you, PS2237. But the content was actually useful. People still see value in it. So if you're interested in international relations, then take this mod.
Definitely.
Take this mod,
Oh, I didn't know about that.
It's quite insane.
Okay. But I mean, either way, like a lot of like sort of political theory, like the main concepts, they really underlie in a lot of the modules that we take. Okay, now we move on to econs. So we took EC 210Y, which is Introduction to Microeconomic Analysis. It's a compulsory module for I think both economic majors and PPE majors. It's compulsory.
This is a tough one.
Oh my god.
This was difficult. You did a mod review on EC 2104 before.
I did
right?
2104.
Yeah, sorry, that one was what? Quantitative analysis.
Yeah.
I think in your previous video you spoke about EC 2104 being very more math intense.
Very intense in math.
Yeah. EC 2101, they say that the math is less intense.
Oh my god.
Which I would say maybe that's true, but that's because more of the legwork here that you need to do is to link the mathematics that you have to an economic concept or to a policy.
Yeah.
And that's hard. I found that difficult.
Yeah.
I found that difficult.
Yeah.
Even though EC 2104, right, like the quality of the math, the standard of math was higher, you could still use your SU credits to, cancel out the grade. For EC 2101, there's less math but harder econs concepts, and you can't SU the mod, so whatever grade you get, you're stuck with it. And you're taking it with econs majors who are fighting very hard to do well for this course. Yeah,
I think for those who are unfamiliar with the SU system, right, it's kind of like you just don't declare the grade, right, on your. So
if you do poorly or don't do well, it's not reflected in your transcript, and no one will ever know.
And for me, I personally got very disadvantaged because my worst performing module ever in NUS was this one. Like, this is my worst I've ever received. And
Same. EC 2101 is the worst mod that I've performed for.
Same.
The odds will just stack against us. However, I've talked to other econs majors about this. They say that this is the mod, right, that's easiest for econs majors to do well.
Oh, sure. What's that?
Okay, they say it this way, like EC 2101 and EC 2104 is the easiest way for them to get through it because all it takes is math, and they're competing against
people who can't do math.
Okay. But this mod, they enjoy it because it's a great way for them to stand out.
Yeah.
Most econs majors, they take this alongside with EC 2104.
Yeah.
They justify it saying that if I study the math for one mod, I'm actually studying it for the other mod as well. But the people who do that are crazy. They're insane. Those are guys that are really good at math. If I could have done the semester differently, right, I would have taken the minimum amount of mods.
To focus.
I would have taken all the fluffy philo mods or literature mods alongside EC 2101, so I could actually give this the time that I needed. Big mistake. That was difficult.
I think personally for me, EC 2101, I think I struggled more with the concepts than the math actually. I feel like the math is like, compared to 2104, the math is slightly easier, but I think the concepts really, maybe I'm not built for econs. That's my thing.
Linking the concepts to the math is difficult.
Very difficult,
there is a difference though. We took EC 2101 in Sem 1, but in Sem 2, the assessment is very different.
It's different professor,
more forgiving. And
ours is not very forgiving.
I think something that we need to preface, right, is that it's important to know who is taking the mod. Sorry, who is running the mod? Who is teaching it? It's very important to know who is teaching the mod because they have different styles, they have different assessment criteria. Which is why videos like this and mod reviews are very important. You need to know when you should be doing this and under what circumstances. We took it in a quite unforgiving semester.
And this is also a semester when both of us were overloading also.
We were taking more than the required, and that was tough. EC 2101 had weekly quizzes, right?
Oh, the weekly quizzes are tough also. But they give 3 tries. I think that is, this professor who runs it, right, she always follows the same flow. Like, it's always like weekly quizzes, they give you 3 chances, and then the highest score will be the final score. There
are usually math questions. There are math questions you need to learn very quickly.
And the time limit is always very tight. Like, there's no way for you to...
My trick was to try it the first time, but to take note what the question was. Then solve it on my own time after I finished the first attempt. Rumor has it that there are folders out there with the quiz answers. Don't trust those. The prof knows those exist, and they will change the quizzes every time, and regularly too. So, really just, they're solvable. The questions are solvable. And you're encouraged to actually collaborate with your other classmates after the first time to try, and then you you see what mistakes you made, then you go bring your answers and your questions to each other, and then you work on it, then get full marks on the quiz. Takes about what, an hour or two per week?
Around there.
Hour or two per week.
But the thing is, right, like, we students work hard, but this prof works harder. Like, she'll really go all out to like challenge you and like that you think deeper about.
Which is why the econs majors love this mod.
They
found it difficult, but they were rewarded for the time that they put into it.
So weekly quizzes, problem set submissions. So problem set submissions are like sort of like worksheets that you do right every week. So you have to do it with like your group mates. And then you submit those your answers to your
very typical economic stuff. There's a problem set you have to do every week.
So it is actually like this, just 3 marks. Just do your work and submit. Like you can.
The problem set questions are repeated in the exams.
Oh yes.
So take them seriously.
Yeah.
The answer key comes out, but you also need to present on this, right?
We need to present
the problem set questions. Yes.
Really?
Oh, okay.
I did. I feel like yes, I remember we presented, but I think maybe different teaching assistants have different styles. For me, I think mine wasn't very big on like getting every single person to present every time.
My TA was the prof herself.
Oh, that's why.
So she'll be like, show me how you solve the questions, then this will be part of your participation. But participation isn't part of it. Isn't counted. But I looking back, right, I enjoy being forced to like show my working in this. Work closely with the prof. Go for your consultations.
Definitely consultations help a lot for me.
Lectures and tutorials.
Participation, that's why.
So lectures, every lecture there's this like poll that you have to do. Questions that you have to fill out. Contributes to your grade. So just attend the lectures, you should be okay.
But kind of in a sense, one thing about this prof, right, is that she always does like pre-lecture videos or something like that. Like you have to watch like the entire lecture, and then you have to do the sort of like problem questions.
There are questions that she poses to you within the pre-lecture video, and then she'll be like, come to the lecture and then give
submit your answer.
Submit your answer in the poll.
So in a sense, you are taking like double the workload of lectures. It's like double the
and watching at 2 times speed does not work.
No,
it does not work. You're gonna you're not gonna digest anything. Just give this time. Which is why I wouldn't have overloaded. I didn't know how this was gonna be. Midterm and final.
These are heavy. Economics, they are very big on like exams, like having under time conditions.
The pol science exams were like 30%, 20%. The final here is almost 50, right? 45%. It's huge. Do not fret though. If you have followed the quizzes, the problem sets, the lectures, the tutorials, your exam should be fine.
Yes, maybe your grades even, you can't tell, but
maybe. If you're looking to enter PPE and then you just need to clear this mod, you should be able to clear. Just be more strategic in how you structure the semester. If you're taking this as an econs major or for anything else, I would say you will be rewarded. You'll be rewarded.
Yes. Okay. That's mainly for like the PPE and E that we have taken together. I think one more, in a sense, is of the CHS modules. Okay, let me explain a bit more about how CHS works. So, PPE is offered by the Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences, but now NUS, for some reason, have merged the Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences with the Faculty of Science to form the CHS, the College of Humanities and Sciences. So, under this new merger, or whatever you term it, right? Like under this new program, like everybody under the Faculty of Arts and Social Science, people in the Science department also, we have to take a specific set of common curriculum. So it's quite messy. For those who watched my previous video, you will have known year 1 we cleared a lot of those modules. So one of the modules we've taken this semester is HS 1501, which is Artificial Intelligence and Society.
Okay, this is not teaching you how to use AI or how to develop your own, nothing like that. It's a mod, it's a class that will be taught at the community center for boomers to learn what AI means and what ethical implications. So it's quite a fluffy mod. It will ultimately come to the conclusion that AI is a tool. Is good in the hands of good people and bad in the hands of bad people. And then you'll be like,
yeah.
But this is a mod that you should be able to coast and still do relatively well.
Yeah.
You want to talk about the assessment?
Yeah. Okay, I think personally for me, I feel like I didn't really put a lot of effort in preparing for this module, but I still do okay in the end, because I think most people take this module with the intention to like SU it, right? So just put a bit more effort than everyone else and you can do well. So that's the trick.
The finals are all what? Open book, right?
Open book MCQ.
Open book MCQ. Save all your lectures. Control F for the day of the exam.
Yeah.
Can't go wrong.
Yeah, you can't go wrong for real.
Oh, but the project video, the project paper. Okay.
Yeah, this project. Okay, the assessments, right? So like midterms and finals, they are MCQ, they're open-ended. Midterms was 20%, finals was 30%. Weekly quizzes 10%, but weekly quizzes are same thing. You just find the answers.
You can find the answers. You can even Google the answers or use your common sense. Just use common sense.
Honestly speaking, AI is so incorporated in our daily life already. Like more or less, people kind of know a little bit how AI works.
Use your brain, you'll be okay.
Yeah.
But there was a project paper and a video. There was basically it's a group project, and you had to film a video talking about the dangers of AI or about your chosen topic. I think we did on AI being used to navigate dating apps, or AI being used to create a more hostile environment on dating apps. That was what my group wanted to do.
I see.
The relationship between society and AI, whether it can harm us or not. That's what we worked on. It was quite a fun little video. The problem is that the timing is not good. It comes at a time where you have to do a bunch of other submissions and prepare for your finals. You don't want to. The last thing you want to do is to dance like a clown in front of a camera, right? But you gotta do what you gotta do. I think no choice.
I think for me, like our group did it in a very different way. Ours, we really do more like a online lecture style. We really dance around or any of those gimmicks, I guess. Yeah. But for me, I can't remember exactly what topic we wrote. But for me, my section, right, I talked about like the use of AI in some dangers that we don't really think of as dangers. So one of the examples, case studies I talk about is actually the representation of people of color as well as gender on some sort of like website that was demonstrating about deep fakes, like those sort of open AI or whatever you call it, like those sort of AI generated images, how they generate images of perhaps like lower skilled workers, higher skilled workers, and how it perpetuates like racial biases, gender biases, and things like this. So this is in a sense quite dangerous, right? It's a sort of danger that we don't really think about when we think of AI, but this area of generative AI, this is one of the dangers that exists, and that's what we talked about a lot. Yeah.
I think the intention of the mod isn't to waste your time. Like it has a pretty good intention. It's to educate you on what AI really means for the world. And how we can approach it in a more ethical manner. Fluffy mod, just do for fun.
Do for fun.
Do for fun. You can take this alongside EC211.
Oh yes, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. This mod, very minimal investment.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's mainly for that. Maybe now we can talk about the modules that we took in this semester that we did not take together. So, you want to share about yours first?
Yeah, sure. Okay. I'll talk about PS2258, Introduction to the Middle East. It's a political science introduction to the Middle East. Or was it Middle Eastern Studies? But basically, the Middle East mod was a prerequisite to take the level 3, the 3K political Islam mod. So this is really the intro level. It was give you context on the Middle East. Each week we'll be covering a different country/region. Very interesting. When I was taking the Middle East mod, October 7 in Israel happened. On the week that we were going to cover Israel-Palestine. That had a very interesting atmosphere when we went for class. The lectures are not recorded, they're physical. A lot of the other classes we mentioned, the lectures are recorded, or at least the attendance is not compulsory. Your attendance is not recorded in the Middle East lectures. However, you will miss out on content, you will miss out on what the prof will say. So you should attend those. She did not change the content she did not update the content for the Israel-Palestine slides, and she also didn't talk about what was happening at the point of time.
Okay.
She didn't want the class to get political. She wanted you to be informed on what the tensions are about. So we talked about the two-state solution, we talked about US interventionism, we talked about the origins of the Zionist movement, and we talked about the political atmosphere for the Palestinians, Hamas and other groups and movements in the area. So I thought it was very important, that mod, because the world basically revolves around the Middle East. A lot of the biggest issues come from there, or at least not biggest issues, but the world just converges on the Middle East. I thought the module was very informative, and even though there was a lot of content, right, the way they structure it is perfect.
Okay.
The lecture follows a script, and she puts it in the slides, and she sends the slides to you. Then you might think,
it's from Danielle also.
Yeah, from Danielle. Then you might think, why would I then attend the lecture if the lecture content is already given to me? Because she will clear the lecture, right, very quickly. She's assumed that you've already read it.
Yeah.
Then she starts to talk more. She starts to question. She starts to provide her own synthesis. And then she teaches you how to answer essay questions in the middle of the lecture. Or at least there's always a section of time divided to teach you how to answer a lecture question. An essay question. And these essay questions come up in your final assessments. I think that for the Middle East mod, it was quite chill because there was no final exams. It was a very typical political science mod. You would have 2 essays. The first essay was 1,000 words. The second essay was like 2.5, 2,000 words. Very, very relaxed, I would say. PS 2255, Politics of the Middle East. Yeah, that's the one I was talking about. 2 essays, and they were quite relatively low in word count. The problem is that there's a lot of content to cover. There's a lot of analysis you need to make. And that's why attending lectures was really important, because she teaches you how to do the analysis. Class participation was also a factor to deal with, and that was difficult because everyone there is very knowledgeable. I ran into the same problem, met the same people, argue with them, and then now I work with them now. And I was like, hey bro, I'm very sorry. But overall, right, it's a fantastic mod. I wish someone taking political science would take it, but it requires a very specific interest in the region. If not, you're not gonna get through it. Oh man. But yeah, politics of the Middle East. You take it if you want to take political Islam. What other mods did I take that I didn't take with you? What? Yes. No. Did we talk about 2258? Yeah, we didn't talk about the mod that we took together.
Yeah, I didn't take 2258 with you.
You
took it yourself, right?
No, I'm so sorry. Okay, I had to take it with a bunch of other PPE people.
Okay.
And I kept talking to you about it, so Okay, so the next mod that I took by myself was called PS2258, Introduction to Political Theory. There's a reason why I confused that I was taking a mod with Zheng Hong. It's because, if you recall, in the mod we talked about 2237 international relations. The same concepts and theories, right, and philosophies are present here. So I really enjoyed taking 2258 and Intro to PT, Political Theory, and IR together, because when I studied for one, I was studying for the other. So it was great. Intro to PT was fun because every week you cover a different kind of political philosopher. There's a 1 or 2 weeks dedicated to Marxism, I guess. So it was quite interesting. We had I think it was 2 essays. Very difficult. You only have 1 week to get 1 week worth of content, right, to cover and to capture the entire philosophy of a certain political scientist or political philosopher. And then you have to somehow synthesize it into an essay. You have to defend it, you have to argue for it, or you have to say how you want to apply it into the modern day context. I struggled with this mod because just for the wealth, the sheer extent of content. However, I don't regret taking the mod it helped me appreciate political science in a more academic way instead of approaching it in a fluffy manner and go, oh, I can smoke my way through a mod. No, this one you need to study for it. It's also worth mentioning that this mod, you're not allowed to bring your laptop to lectures.
Oh yeah, how about it?
Yeah. The prof is a real stickler for focus in class. He argues that if you use your laptop or your iPad, right, you're gonna be using Telegram most of the time to talk to your friends. I won't dispute that. I won't dispute that. If you're using my laptop, I will get distracted. But writing in pen and paper did bring out something in me. There's a lot of frustration.
Yeah.
I was like, Prof, you're talking very fast, talking a lot. Can't keep up. And his response would be,
work harder.
Look harder. Think about. But it's true. If you do your reading beforehand, right? When you listen to him, you don't have to write everything down because you've already internalized it. So yeah, PS258 Intro to PT. I would say if you don't know what you want from political science, you take this mod.
Yes.
To figure out where you want to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, what other mods did I do without you?
This should be it, right? For this.
For Sem 1, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, right, yeah. So
Okay.
can you go to Sem 2, I guess? Yeah, sure.
Yeah. I can share a bit more about the mod I've taken.
Oh yeah, Sem 1, yeah, please.
Actually, this semester one is the month where the semester where we took a lot of political science modules. So I also took another political science module, but this is offered at the 3000 level, so I guess it's slightly harder. It's PS 3237 Women in Politics. So I just found out that it's also taught by the same professor who taught the politics of the Middle East.
She does Middle Eastern studies, political Islam, and then women and feminism.
Feminism, yeah. So actually, it's quite evident that her research interest in the Middle East really came. It's very obvious because she did talk about the feminism, the role of women in Islam and the Middle East also in this module. But it's more like touch and go. Yeah, so I can share a bit about the content for this module. You just think of women and politics, the curriculum is really structured as such. So the first half is really about women, about feminist theories, feminist philosophers and some of their ideas. And the second half of the module is more focused on political representation of women, how women engage in formal, informal politics, civil societies and things like this. Yeah, so quite a lot of main ideas that we talk about, including ideas of the different ways of feminism. So this is, I would say, a bit problematic, whether or not you can consider feminist ideas as waves in human history. I don't really agree with the idea, but it's one of the frameworks that we're taught. There's something of ideas of intersectionality, about how feminism is kind of like a representation of power imbalances, power dynamics, and it's also evident in other cases like racism, and so you can see there's a lot of this that link together. So intersectionality is really a core idea in understanding this, and there's a lot of very difficult theories. I remember it was so hard to read through them, really difficult. And afterwards we talk about representation of women in politics. So in the formal space and informal space, but also about a very key idea was about descriptive representation and substantive representation, right? Do the number of women in parliament really necessarily means that women's rights are really well protected, or perhaps that are men not able to represent women adequately in parliament? So these are some ideas that we talk about. We talk about critical mass theory. We talk about some of these key ideas about representation. So so this is the main idea behind it, and I feel that it's really, really enlightening to me because I think especially as a man myself, as a guy myself, I don't really understand feminism before I took this module. I was like, oh, what is this whole feminist discourse that everyone's so big on? And after I take this, I realized it's not so much only about women. It's more about understanding our place in society, how our actions or even inactions might affect people of the same class or different class with us. So I think that's the main takeaway I had. So for assessment wise, I would say it's very typical of a political science module. So the essays take up the main weight of the grading. So first essay is 30%, second essay is 30%. If you do a digital poster, it's worth 10%. Class participation 20%. And we also have to submit weekly reading discussion questions. And this is something that I really like about tutorials, is that the students will get to come up with their own discussion questions in class, and we can actually talk about what the students are interested in.
It's something that Prof. Tanya does for every one of our mods.
Yeah.
You come up with your own discussion questions based on the readings that you did. You know that you had a good question, that you wrote in a good question, if she chooses to present your question in tutorial. So aim for that really. She does that for her Middle East mod and her political Islam mod as well. I appreciate the discussion questions.
Same, I really appreciate that.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. So yes, that's all for our semester 1 modules. Now let's move on to our second semester.
Yeah.
Alright, so we're back from our break, and now we'll talk about the modules we have taken in our second semester this year. So we will start with the modules we have taken together, and I think the first one we'll talk about is PS2249, Government and Politics of Singapore.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Let's talk about like the main concepts that was covered in this. I think it was like the whole idea was about the hegemony, right, of like the political party.
Analyze whether that we're trying to understand the PAP's role in Singapore, whether we are really a democracy as we claim, really challenging our preconceived notions of what a meritocracy really means, and inequality present in and perhaps perpetuated by the system here. Really, it's all about Singapore, so you shouldn't be a stranger to it. And even if you're not kept up to date, right, the context they give you, the notes they give you, helps cover a lot of the ground.
And I think one thing about this module is that the professor is very big on like applying it into like real life. I think she really covered a lot of like case studies. Like even our tutorials was all kind of really focused on like a specific topic, right, in Singapore politics that really dive very deep into.
Dr. Rebecca is really good when it comes to these kind of mods. PS2249 for context, right, is one of the compulsory mods. It's an option. So
it's either this or
So in the PPE track, the PPE track, one of the requirements is to clear a Singapore politics module. So to get you to understand where you come from, right? So we have a few choices. One is PS2249, governance and politics in Singapore. The other was on Singapore's foreign policy, and one more was on
the administration, right?
Singapore public administration. So you get to choose either one. I was going to take foreign policy, but then I realized that I think it's more important for me to understand how Singapore works properly here. I'm really doing too much international relations stuff already.
And I think also one thing interesting about this is that this is the first time where Dr. Rebecca is taking this module. Previously it's done by Dr. Bilber Singh, right? Who's like, I guess very prominent in the...
it's prominent in the political scene.
I don't really know much about him, but I mean, I just know he's a pretty big figure.
I guess this is not the place to discuss his politics. But I think it's a blessing that Dr. Rebecca took over the mod, because the previous reviews were that it was very boring, very dry, and certain forms of assessment weren't as useful. Like the way that they check your essays, or like what requirements they have for it. But we won't go into detail. I think we'll just talk about what Dr. Rebecca did.
And then her main research focus is also about Singapore. I think like labour politics or something.
Labour politics, yes, correct.
Focused
we had entire 1 or 2 weeks focused on unemployment benefits, welfare, minimum wage. The white paper.
It's tripartite work.
It's like all these concepts, but really I think her main focus is to examine inequality within Singapore and what the government's role is in it.
And I think even if you are not Singaporean yourself or you're unfamiliar, I think it's also a very good starting point to see how the politics of Singapore is like.
A lot of exchange students do the mock US, right?
Even for myself as Singaporean, I feel like I also gain new insights on how a lot of things we take for granted, right? You think of like CPF, you think of like public housing. These are things that we kind of take for granted, but it's to think of how these policies even came into being. What were the ideologies that kind of like motivated the creation of these policies? They are quite important also to know about.
I think for me it was a bit different. I appreciated this mod because it taught me how to critique the Singapore system in a more structured manner,
Yes,
in a more meaningful manner. My circles, or at least growing up, a lot of very common gripes of, you know, oh, we can't stand the PAP, we can't stand Singapore, but like they don't know what they're saying.
Yes,
it's just out of, you know, sheer annoyance at, you know, certain things in life.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't want to serve NS, or I don't want my CPF money to be taken. Oh, I hate the government. But like, this mod teaches you exactly what those structures are and what the implications are. It's not trying to, before we get mistaken, right? Before anyone gets mistaken, the mod is not a celebration or a critique of the Singapore political system. It presents you with facts and then shows you multiple viewpoints and teaches you how are you going to argue for or against the Singapore political system.
It kind of gives you more like a sort of like, you can come to a very informed decision about your stance on certain issues in Singapore. So like, you do not just blindly go about sharing your opinion without any like backing, right?
You won't support or oppose the Singapore political system without proper backing.
And I think also like one issue is that like the youth in Singapore, I think they say like a lot of political apathy, right? Like people in Singapore, they don't really get in touch with politics.
Yes.
I think personally for me, I feel like perhaps I'm the kind of person, but after taking this module, it really made me realize that, you know, I don't mind saying we vote for the people who represent us in Singapore. We do in a certain sense still have some sort of capacity where we can contribute to this scene. And even if we can't do anything, just knowing about it helps a lot.
Let's talk about the assessments. Participation was 20%. That was mostly class part. What did you say in tutorials? Essay prep assignment, 10%, and then an essay 30%. So essay prep is quite standard.
Kind of like a research proposal of sorts.
Yeah, it's a research proposal. Basically, it's a way for you to present your ideas to your TA, to your prof, and then they'll tell you whether you're on the right track or not. And I think you should take risks for this. You should not be afraid to take risks for the essay prep assignment because it's only 10%. You need to, it's really for you to clarify your doubts and to ensure that you're not writing out of point for your final essay. I think it was good. I think it was meaningful. The TAs and the prof were able to respond quite quickly, promptly to our queries. The final was a bit weird though.
Oh yes, I think this is the first time where they were experimenting with this sort of, I guess, hybrid structure of doing a final. So, okay, by right, I believe the previous iteration of this module is also like a final exam that's worth 50%. But what our prof did is actually split it up into two sections. So like the actual exam itself is 30%, but creating a cheat sheet is worth 20%. So that really threw me off. I don't recall creating a cheat sheet for political science classes, very rarely, maybe one or two, but essentially what happened was that we were given a speech from one of the MPs. And we were supposed to analyze it in line with the concerns and issues covered in the mod proper. So stuff like inequality or elitism or you know, a hegemonic political environment, weak opposition, that kind of thing. We're supposed to analyze the speech from that, and we were explicitly told to work on linking what we saw in the speech to lecture content, themes and concerns. So that was 20%. And on the day of the exam itself, you're told to bring in your cheat sheet, at least what you worked on, and you will submit it at that paper. So that would be your 30%. The actual essay was, the actual final, right, was to write an essay on the spot, based on a few questions. I think you had a choice of questions, or was it only one? It was only one question. Based on the speech and based on what you've prepared, you just basically consolidate your findings.
Consolidate your findings in an essay. The final is actually quite easy if you did your cheat sheet properly.
Oh, definitely.
You are writing, when you do the cheat sheet, you're actually writing the main points for your essay.
And I think one thing that I guess I appreciate is that most political science like exams or essays, right, they're really focused on theory. But I think this one is really focused more on how do we understand what the government of the day is doing, right? I think that's a really interesting perspective, a really interesting take on trying to learn about Singapore politics, right? Like what exactly are they doing? How do we understand it through what we learn class.
Where the other political science mods would show you the theories, right, and then tell you to apply later. The entire of PS 249, applying the theories to the Singapore context is present at every step of the way. Throughout class participation, throughout the lectures even. It's constantly testing you on, so you know what it is about Singapore. Is it true? How are you going to defend it? And if you take a certain stance, how are you going to apply it to Singapore? Or how is it reflected in Singapore? Yeah, it really gets you to think. I think there's a certain stigma against pol science students, where they are very outspoken. Yeah, but like, if I have to be nice about it, they're very outspoken. For this class, I didn't feel that way though.
Yeah, most people weren't as active as other modules.
So if you're worried about class participation, right, you should be. This is the place for you to get it. Because the pol science majors, right, who are like, deeply interested in other stuff like the Middle East or African politics, they will fight very passionately, very hard for class part in those classes. But for here, because it's a Singapore mod, people don't really care about it. So if class participation is your fear, then all the more you should speak up in this mod, because the competition is not as stiff as others.
Wait, I think this is SUable also, right?
It's SUable, but you don't want to SU a mod that you don't want to SU the SG mod, right? Like you live here all your life.
But this mainly for this module, I think it's very straight to the point. Like, just really learning about Singapore. Like, that's really the main premise of it.
8 AM tutorials were tough though.
Oh yeah, it was oh my god.
Okay, there's a thing about PS 249, right? And it's that the lectures were recorded. So great, you can watch them at home. The problem is that tutorials are 8 AM, you have to, at least for us, we have to crawl out of bed, get your butt down there. And then I think that's also why class part was so relaxed. Everyone was just sleeping already.
And I remember the worst thing is that we had our econs midterm exam right after the 8 AM.
Tutorial. I was not paying attention to the tutorial at all. Very difficult.
So I think actually one thing about university life, right, is actually not about how smart you are or how hardworking you are, but about your stamina, right? It's like sometimes these kind of things that really test your ability.
Manage your time well, like manipulate your timetable so that it suits you best. There's no value in taking multiple finals in the semester, final exams in the semester. Just take a bunch of essay mods and then one final exam. And then and then coast and just live your life. Your stamina is really important for you when you want. If grades are your concern, even if grades aren't your concern, I'm sure you would still want stamina to do your extracurriculars. But that's the problem.
Alright. So that's for this module. The next module we'll talk about is EC2383, Environmental Economics.
Okay. Environmental Economics. Wow, okay, so in all honesty, right, I was very fed up with all the econs mods for constantly making us do math and very little econs. And I was like, okay, I want to do something fluffy and econs. So environmental econs sounded fluffy enough. I'm like, oh, okay, climate change, we protect the environment. Maybe have a policy there or two. Then I just went, I was very, very wrong. Lectures were about the concepts, the fluffy concepts. The math for it came at the very end of like the lecture and throughout the tutorial. So it led to a very disjointed experience. Like, I can learn optimization and whatnot, right? But then I wasn't given enough context to understand that it's for you to apply it to policy. The policies are economic policies.
And I think also, similarly, I wanted to take a break from very intensive economic modules. This is why I chose this module. And I think I kind of agree with you about the fact that it's actually much more math heavy than I've expected it to be. And actually I also wonder whether or not this is the case for just this whole discipline of environmental economics, right? Because I was thinking, do other universities do the same? Then I went online and checked, right? Apparently most unis also teach very similar concepts to what we learn also. So that, I forgot the term for it, but it's the graph, and then the graph will flip over, and then you overlap the cap and trade.
I'm very blank. It's been a while.
So I think actually some of these sort of math heavy, very theoretical kind of frameworks, they are actually quite I guess the foundations in this discipline. But I felt like the way it was brought out was like a bit quite like abrupt. Like you don't really know what's important and what's not important in this module. That's the main.
I think when I went to this mod, right, I was expecting them to do some JC level microecon stuff, right? Draw your graph, see how much negative externality, how you want to reduce, how much harm to society you want to stop, and then you calculate. So this is where you learn how to do that. You learn how much it costs to you learn how to set policies, like to cap and trade emissions, that kind of stuff. The class part was quite easy, but I don't think it's going to stay the same.
Definitely not.
So what happened, right? So participation was at 10%, right? What happened was that we were given problem sets for every tutorial. The problem sets are just, questions. You don't need to submit the answers.
No need to submit.
You don't need to submit the answers, which makes it you could technically not do the problem set, but you're gonna regret it because what happens in tutorial is that everyone is required to present their answer once. You get to present one question for the entire sem, and then lies the problem. Everyone would finish presenting their questions, and then the rest of the semester will continue with nobody presenting, and it'll just be the TA talking about it. It was very sad, and halfway through the sem, they realized their mistake and started to demand that people present more often. So, but I think it's quite par for the course for every econs mod, There is some presentation of your problem set eventually.
No matter what. But the thing that it was scary is that now, the second of the semester, right, is that the TA can just randomly call out students to present. And the worst thing is, like, half the time I don't even know how to do like, most of the questions. So I was praying so hard that like, I don't get called up. And thank goodness I didn't get called up afterwards.
Talking about the question, there's a problem with the EC233 questions.
Oh, yes. I remember we talked about it also.
Okay, so in most other like math-based classes, right, the problem set should be teaching you how to solve the questions in the exam. At least, helping you understand the math. When it came to EC233, very few of the questions were actually on, how to approach the exam questions. I get it that the goal of a class is not to teach you how to ace the exam, but to help you appreciate the concepts. The problem is that they taught the lecture content, they taught all the concepts, they taught the math. The linkage is not as explicit as it should have been. I hope it's just not. I don't think I'm dumb that I couldn't figure it out. I just felt very bad that it had promised to be a very interesting mod, but math ruins everything.
But I think also, to be fair, I think this professor is new also. I think it's probably the first time she's running this module.
Is it? Why are you taking a lot of the first time profs?
Oh, no. It's okay. The experiment. We're being experimental on
little rats.
But I think for me, like I think there are some moments where it was interesting. I think one of the most interesting parts of this module, was seeing how the free rider problem, seeing how it actually exists on like a graph. Like I just I don't know why, but this is
to quantify the free rider problem mathematically. What happens when someone skims out on the world, or someone to carry the societal burden or the tax burden, and then how it affects people, and you get to have a concrete number for it.
And this is also, I guess, the merit of taking a PPE major is that sometimes this this sort of quantifying the free rider problem, for example, is something that like if you are a pure econs major, you won't really get to see like the thought process behind it. I think similar to EC 2101 also that I took the previous semester, they briefly mentioned about the fundamental theorem of welfare economics. And I believe that one of the arguments that came out, I think the professor she mentioned right in lecture was John Rawls' theory on, I forgot what was it. It's basically one of those. Wow. But we learned about that concept in PE 2101. So I was very surprised to see that. So whatever we learned, like it was thought in more like philosophical kind of standpoint, but we see it like quantified in the economics realm. Yeah. So that was really beautiful for me.
The academic rigor is really present for PPE.
Yeah.
But the good thing is that since it's a mod that talks about intersectionality, if you study one mod, you're high chance you're studying something else at the same time.
Yeah.
Without even maybe not even realizing it.
Yeah. So I think as like for students who are interested in PPE, right, it's good to, I guess, keep an open mind. Like, you don't study things that, oh, I'm studying like econs for econ's sake, studying this for this sake. But like, you try to see how everything comes to play, and you realize that literally everything that we learn in a way like weave with each other, some way or another.
I enjoyed the midterm was a bit difficult, but looking back, right, I felt like it was really just concept checking, just seeing if you had followed the tutorials.
Yeah.
The final was a bit harder in my opinion, but yeah.
Oh, okay.
In my opinion, I found it a bit harder.
I see.
I think I only felt that way because my final came at a very bad time, packed into the finals. But the math is a lot simpler here. EC2383 is a fun mod to take. There's a group project element as well.
Oh yes, there's a group project. Yeah, and we were in the same group, so yes.
The group projects were quite interesting. You were given quite some time to prepare, but then depending on was it a coin flip or just your number, you either had to present earlier to finals or further away from finals. Of course, you want to present earlier, right? But then we had to present like 1 week before.
And we were the very last slot.
Very last slot. So we had to sit through everything. Not fun.
But I think it's also because I think one thing about this professor is that she's really big on like doing research, like understanding like the research process behind like the environment and econs. And I think this group project, she really focuses a lot about how to person research methodology, how do you come to your conclusions, how do you represent your data and things like this. So I think the topic that we did was on like carbon emissions.
Carbon emissions in our food in our diet. We got each member to log in their meal intake, and then we would input their meal intake into like a carbon emissions calculator. And then we would present it to the prof and ultimately come to the conclusion, what meats contribute to the most like carbon emissions and like what we can do to change our dietary habits. I don't think every other group project held to the same quality. I have to be honest.
Yes, I feel the same way too.
And there's a good reason for that. Because you can SU this mod. It's still math, but it's a lot easier compared to the other mods we did.
I think, like you mentioned about the finals, right? I feel like one thing about the finals is that I feel like it's more focused on the theory than the math for this module, in my opinion. I think,
which is why I found it a bit harder. I also have to say, you spend most of the mod learning the math and the theory separate, almost separate, like rarely interlinked. It came to the final, I was like, okay.
But I think it's ultimately quite interesting. I feel like it's regardless. I think actually the group project really made me think about like, my sort of actions, like how do they contribute to the environment. And like, okay, this is a bit off topic, right? But recently I went to like Korea, and one thing about Korea is that they're super strict on like recycling. So like, if you don't recycle, you get fined or something like this. Like every house, every neighborhood, there are like recycling bins literally everywhere. Then it kind of like makes me wonder about the policy making side of the environment, right? In this module about like, because we talk about like taxes and subsidies, we talk about cap and trade and things like this. But sometimes certain like legislation like this, you just like something that's never thought of, like enforcing like strictly like recycling. That's actually contribute a lot. Apparently like there's almost like 0% food waste in Korea because of like
Korea, Taiwan, Japan. They're all getting on it already. Only Singapore is left to catch up.
So there's more you can do.
There's more you can do. It's a big message of EC2383, ultimately telling you that there is more that you could be doing.
So this is just one of my major takeaways for this module.
Alright.
So yes, these are the two modules that we've taken together. Then we took quite different modules this semester. So you want to share a bit more about what you have taken?
Sure. Let me go and find exactly what mod I take. Okay, so this was the sem that I finally got to start on my literature minor. So I took EN1101E, Introduction to Literary Studies, like Introduction to Literature, Intro to Lit. So the interesting thing about taking it in the second semester is that you're avoiding all the literature majors. who are basically trained for this already. For context, I've already done literature before, but you know, I'm not a lit major. I would rather not compete against a lit major so early. So Sem 2 was mostly for people who wanted you know, an easy A, here to SU the morning, or you know, lit majors were just people who just became lit majors. So the class size was quite small. I would say what 30 people maybe. Maybe less actually. But it was quite small. Lectures are recorded, but the prof's microphone is very bad. So so don't bother. Just attend. We analysed a series of books, some films, and of course poems. Basic stuff is what we had. Great Gatsby. Something that a lot of people did in JC. So Great Gatsby was quite fun. The rest were films. I think there were some films, there were books also. But the films, right, was A Man Escaped, some black and white French film about faith and like oppression. So I was like, interesting. So what are we gonna learn in this mod? So the prof came out and was like, okay, sure. So the main thing here is to appreciate literature, learn the techniques, learn how to argue for something, or learn how to close read. It's really an introduction to literature, and it was very fun. I didn't get to do literature for like what, year 1, year 2, sem 1. Only recently that I started to do literature again, which I like. This mod, right, the assessment is a bit weird because they had essays, but they also had final exams. And the problem with the final exam is that you have to watch a clip from the film during your exam time and then analyze what that clip does or says. And I'm like, I don't want to spend too long watching the same clip over and over trying to find clues. That was a bit weird. But other than that, still okay, necessary if you want to do literature.
Yes, of course.
The other mod that I did with Zheng Hong would be PS3255, Political Islam. So earlier, the Middle East mod was a prerequisite to take Political Islam. Political Islam, it teaches you mostly on what the Quran says and how it's being interpreted or being used. PS3255. It's a PS3225, not 3225. PS3225. So sorry, guys. Okay. So we've already learned about the Middle East and what impacts the region. Right now, it's time to learn about the dominant religion there, which is Islam, and what political actors have weaponized the religion to do. So it makes a very good distinction between terror attacks and whatnot. It seeks to explain a lot of the worrying trends we see, like Islamophobia, and like how Islam views it. It wasn't a religious study because you're not really studying the Quran. In fact, Prof. Tanya, I don't think that's her main goal here. Her goal, the goal of the class, was for you to understand how religion is being used. It doesn't even need to actually be Islam, right? We got to see the difference in Islamic states, or I try to define what Islamic state really means, since there's no such thing. When we say there's no such thing as an Islamic state, at least for the mod, it says that every state that status quo considers an Islamic state has very little similarities, other than Islam is one of the dominant religions. But even that is not considered a necessary or sufficient condition. I remember the very first week, Prof. Dunya dropped a bomb on us and was like, think about it this way, you could call UK, right, an Islamic state. You can call the UK an Islamic state. Then I was like, there's no way, intuitively you can't do that. And she was like, let's talk about that. And then we went into saying what traits are, generic traits are in a typical Islamic state. And then if you can find these generic traits in the UK, then the UK is considered Islamic state. So she was trying to prove that even the very concept of Islamic state is defies our expectations and defies our understanding. So one of my favorite mods, PS3225. The pol science guys, they're also very outspoken, and I guess since religion is at the center of this mod, you need to be careful with what you say, because you don't want to be offensive. You don't want to offend other people that way. You don't want to hurt somebody. But this mod is very academic. Here's what Islam says. here's what the cleric say, or here's what this political group says. Let's see how it evolves on the ground. But yeah, that was political Islam for me.
Okay.
What other mod did I take?
There's 4 mods, right? The last one is
Arabic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright, that's great. So actually what you say is quite interesting also about like, especially in certain political science modules, right, where religion or like some sort of like human identity is being discussed. Yeah, it's quite important. It's also a skill also for us to navigate these conversations with a more neutral stance in a way that doesn't potentially offend anybody. Because I remember like I was taking the module of women in politics, right?
Yeah.
Also offered by the same professor who taught this.
Yeah.
Then I don't know what happened, but I mean, okay, I think it's expected that there'll be more like more females, more ladies taking this module compared to guys, right? Women in politics. And then right, somebody said something that I guess kind of offended me. Like she said something about how like national service in Singapore perpetuates toxic masculinity or something along those lines. And I was like, okay, like maybe I get maybe you do feel some that way, right? But like I get okay, the way she substantiated her points makes sense also. But like the way you deliver your opinion sometimes matters. So it's kind of like a skill set to navigate. Because I was like, my NS experience doesn't point to me that toxic masculinity should anyway. So the way we talk about these issues is quite important also.
I think a lot of the Prof. Tonya mods, women in politics, intro to the Middle East, political Islam, she teaches you how to present your thoughts. Because answering the essay questions is something that is a core part of every class for her. It's not, even then I don't feel it's a cheap way to keep students interested because they're only interested in passing the exam. I feel like if you try to coach students on how to answer the exam questions, it's actually also teaching them how to develop their thought process, how do they better engage with the content that they've learned so far. I think that's good so far.
Okay, so yes, let's conclude his section. For me, I'll share some of the modules I've taken on myself. So one of the modules I've taken is yet another philosophy module. I'll be trying to... So my approach, right, is that I try to take like one philosophy, one political science, one economics module. That's like my strategy. So for the philosophy module I've taken this semester is PH2209, Philosophy of Art. So as an aspiring art history student, I'm trying to learn a bit more about art. And just nice, this kind of double counts for both my PPE and art history curriculum. So nice intersection to learn about art from a philosophical point of view. But I would say, if you are really like a die-hard like art history like student, if you love art history, this mod might not really be suitable for you because it dives more in like the philosophy, not so much the art. So you wouldn't expect, you can't expect like looking at art to talk about it. It's more about the ideas behind it. So I believe there are 4 main topics to this. So it's one of them is like, how do we define art? How do we evaluate art? How do we interpret art? And also like the moral concerns behind art, right? So for example, if like the artists, if they're like criminals or something, does supporting their work kind of means that you accept their wrongdoings? So the sort of the morality behind art, whether or not the sort of the moral stance of an artist, can it be integrated into a work, and whether liking the work. So it's quite a tough topic to talk about. And I would say this module is surprisingly difficult actually. I didn't expect to spend a lot of time trying to like dissect and really unpack what they're talking about in class, but it's quite difficult. But the good thing is that this module, right, the way that the assessments are structured is very forgiving. So the 2 main assessments, right, is just 2 essays. First essay is 30%, another essay is 35%. And these essays, like the essay topic is very simple. You just choose one of the week's readings and whether or not you defend or you support or you defend or you disagree with the author. And you can choose what readings are more manageable for yourself. So for me, I know for my second essay, I wrote a paper on cultural appropriation. Because I think it's, I guess, a bit easier for me to talk about cultural appropriation. So this is interesting, but one of the case studies that I actually dive deep into is about Taylor Swift's Eras Tour. So like, you know how like the Eras Tour, I mean, okay, for those who watch this channel, you know I'm a crazy celebrity. So you know this whole tradition of wearing friendship bracelets to the Eras Tour, right? So actually, this kind of borderline entered this cultural appropriation discussion because members of the rave community, they said that they do something of similar tradition called like candy bracelets or something along those lines. So basically, some of those people in the rave community, they voiced up, they're like, oh, this 50s thing that Taylor Swift invented this whole friendship bracelet aesthetic, but it's been around for a very long time. So this is kind of sparked a debate, which I think concerns many Swifties worldwide, right? Because this whole tradition is a big thing. Yeah. So it's kind of understanding how like cultural appropriation, how do you make sense of it, how do you understand it? And cultural appropriation in the form of art also. So artistic styles, how you dress, these are some ways that you manifested. And yeah, so it's quite interesting, but I got to say that you have to be really interested to dive deep into philosophical concepts in this module really for you. Then class participation is 10%, but honestly speaking, I participated like only once because it's so difficult to dissect. And yeah, and I swear there's this one of my tutorial group mates, right? She is so good at like dissecting concepts. Like I feel like I've never seen any philosophy student in NUS who does it as well as her. Having her in my group, I learned so much from her. So yes, shout out to her. I really love the way she talks.
Competing with people like that,
yes,
tough.
Yes. That was good.
Unfortunately, we still live in a bell curve system, so
yeah. Then there are also, I would say weekly, but it's almost like weekly quizzes also. That's worth 25%. But I would say the quizzes you have to do well because right, the essays, the bell curve is super narrow. Like literally, she only give you like 3 marks. Like it's either you get this mark or this mark or this mark. There's like no variation. So your quizzes is really like the biggest deciding factor that determines whether you get an A range or B range for the grade. So do well for the quizzes. Alright, the last module I'll talk about that I've taken for myself is one of the CHS common curriculum modules.
I'm doing this next semester.
So this is under the digital literacy pillar. So actually under this pillar, right, for CHS students, there are mainly 2 modules you can take. It's either GEI 1001 or GEI 1002. So 1001 is the one that's much more popular, it has much more slots, and literally like 90% of students take that module. But I heard a lot of feedback that says that the module is very workload intensive. And for me, I can't code. Like, I'm really scared of like coding and things like this. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to avoid taking that module. And apparently that GI 1001, I think what I understand is people actually design like a game of sorts. Like they use Excel to make some sort of game, but that's totally
Oh man, okay. Yeah, I've heard a lot of things about this mod too. Is it true that like you all have to compete with the com science guys as well? Or do they not take this?
1002 or 1001?
2001, which one is it?
Okay, for this module 1002, I don't think it's open for computer science.
Right, okay, my bad.
But I feel like a lot of people in PPE or econs, I feel, they kind of know coding because it's quite a relevant skill, right? It's something to think about.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, like, well, why do they already know coding? I think I'm the one who doesn't know coding.
But I would say for the module I've taken, GI 1002, which is titled Computer and Humanities, I think this module is actually very beginner friendly. Like it kind of focuses it does teach you coding, it does teach you like the basic skill sets, but it really makes you think about like there's the wider context behind it. So what are some of the ethical? I don't think they talk about ethical concerns, but they talk about more like how coding came to be, how can we apply it in real life. So I believe the 3 main topics that they covered, right? I think one of them was covering about coding for like textual analysis, so like analyzing like text or even sentiment analysis, right? When you look at how people comment on social media, you can run you through some algorithm to kind of let the creators gauge what is the audience reaction like. Is it generally more positive or negative? We also did some sort of like geographical analysis, understanding how do I say it? Like certain geographical spots, right? Oh, like this spot there's much more trade over here. They call it like the linkages and nodes, and yeah. So these are some ideas. Obviously I didn't really put a lot of this module, but it's also very forgiving actually. I actually did surprisingly well for this module. Very forgiving for people who are willing to put a bit more effort lah.
There's an essay component for this, right?
Yes. And essay is 40%, it's the biggest component in this.
Wow, that's huge. Yeah. Is that, oh man, no coding involved?
No, the essay surprisingly no coding involved. But you have to, based on what you call, you have to basically choose a specific article or a specific source that uses like data analysis and representation, and you basically have to use one of the readings in the module to understand and make sense of like what's happening, whether or not the creator has adequately or like in a sense like accurately represented the data. It's quite difficult. You realize that actually data is very, very prone to manipulation. The way that you present data, the way you even list things out, the ordering of it, the colors that you use to represent your pie charts, things like this actually matters a lot in the psychological side of the humans. The way we perceive data is important. So this essay is about that. So I actually wrote about the website that I found about the generative AI, how it perpetuates gender and racial biases. So I used this analysis to understand and see whether or not the author has rightfully addressed these concerns. And yeah, 40%, so quite heavy. Then there's a group project, which thank goodness I have some friends in my group project who can do coding, so they did the main bulk of like the coding part of the assignment. For me, I do more of the humanities essay writing part of it. So I have to make the literature review. And I don't understand why, but my group project chose, my group mates, right, they chose a very difficult topic to talk about. They chose the topic about the budget statements across the years. I was like, what? Yeah, okay, pick something less boring than this. I was like, as a PB student, like, okay, I'm not even bothering interested in this, but sure, they went with that. And we tried to analyze the budget speeches given in Parliament every year, and try to see about how much attention is given to each age group in the Singaporean society. So makes to understand, is the government gearing more towards providing for the elderly generation, or are they providing more for education among the youth? So I try to understand it, and obviously, with something that's arbitrary as this, right, you can't really come to a very conclusive conclusion, right, to see a specific trend that comes out of it. But it's quite interesting. I mean, for me, I do more like literature review. I actually get to learn about how the budget is actually being formulated, what are the processes that we go through, how do they collect data. So the group project was actually quite, I guess, quite enlightening for me. You get to learn more about the budget, how it's done in Singapore. Then the class participation is just doing weekly quizzes. And weekly quizzes are not even graded. Like, as long as you submit it, you get the participation. And there's also a final quiz worth 15%. The one is really, really simple. As long as you do your readings, your 10 lectures, you will know what's going on. So I would really, really recommend this module for students who can't code and are afraid to code. This is the module to go. GI 1001, I guess perhaps will teach you more of the actual coding skills, but it's tough. It's tough.
You want to protect your grades.
Yeah. So that's about it. Actually, I also took a module for art history, but I've covered it in my previous video, specifically on the module of taking art history. So do watch that video. And any final words?
Take care, guys.
Yes. So if you have any sort of queries or concerns, you can just comment down below, or you can head to my Instagram, send me a DM. I'll be there to answer. And yes, so that's all for today. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you on the next video. Bye.